Good evening. I'm calling to order this regular school board meeting of the School Board of the Metropolitan School District of Washington Township. It is Wednesday, May 13th. It is 6:02 p.m. We will kick off as always with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. May is always an exciting meeting because it is always our biggest month for recognitions. So we are thrilled to kick off tonight with our board recognitions. Dr. Pettigrew.
Good evening, Madam President, members of the board, Dr. Taylor. We're excited for all of the recognitions that we have this evening. And so we will get started. So we have students who've been recognized as National Math Star nominees, placing in the top 2% of all third grade math students in Indiana based on iLearn assessment data. The following students will please come forward when you hear your name. Lakin Dillon, Allisonville Elementary School. Rachel McClellan, Clearwater Elementary School. Samora Budden, Fox Hill Elementary School. Jackson Gale, Greenbrier Elementary School. Rosemary McGee, Nora Elementary School. Penelope Sanchez, Spring Mill Elementary School. Ivan Singh, Spring Mill Elementary School. And Pax Patel, Spring Mill Elementary School. This outstanding achievement reflects their exceptional talent, hard work, and dedication to academic achievements. Through the National Math Stars program, they will have access to advanced learning opportunities, enrichment support, and a community of high-achieving peers. Congratulations.
Great job. I love your outfit. Congratulations. Great job.
Can we stay up front for a picture?
Great job. Great job. Congratulations.
All right, stay in place for the parents. All right, congratulations. Congratulations are in order for Tristan Foster, a graduating senior from True North. He is being recognized for his outstanding leadership, service, and commitment to advocating for others. Throughout high school, he has led several community service projects, including clothing, coat, and toiletry drives in partnership with the Jordan YMCA Board and our social workers to support local families in need. He organized each project from start to finish, developing action plans, promoting donations, and recruiting fellow students to assist. He has been an active member of the True North Student Leadership Team and has participated in the Inspire You Leadership Conference for the past 2 years. After completing graduation early and beginning full-time work, he has continued to stay connected to the school community and volunteer to support. After graduation, Tristan plans to attend the Indiana Institute of Technology in Fort Wayne with future goals of pursuing a law degree. Congratulations. All right, congratulations. Congratulations to North Central High School students Journey Collins and Oli Muyamba. They are being recognized for their outstanding achievement at the 2026 National History Day in Indiana State Contest, hosted by the Indiana Historical Society at Marian University. Their project, the 6888, and the Letters That Saved the War, earned third place in the senior group exhibit category. National History Day is a year-long academic program that encourages students to conduct extensive research and present their findings through creative projects. Congratulations. Students at Nora Elementary recently honored cafeteria team member Mr. Paul Flair. Okay. He is a World War II veteran. They wrote heartfelt letters thanking him for his service to our country. He participated in an honor flight to Washington, D.C. on April 11th, where the students' letters were presented to him in a special surprise during the flight. We are pleased to have him as a part of Washington Township. Congratulations are in order for Northview Middle School for being named the recipient of the 2026 NIET Founders Award. Our student recognized is Esther Masan Nabera. Come forward. Parent Lindsay Kuzi. And staff members, Heather Brannigan, Brittany Taylor, Scott Satterwhite, Eric Johnson, Laura Haynes, come forward, Beckett Christopher, Jordan Johnson, Marissa Tanner, Hannah Reho, Rachel Yenser, Angel Pickett Chilton, Andra Rasmussen, Caitlin Fields, Andrea McCoy, and Amy Gilliam, and Tom Hakeem. They were recognized as a national leader in educator excellence and student achievement. They were one of 5 finalists nationwide. They were honored for their strong instructional leadership, collaborative culture, and significant academic growth. Congratulations, Northview.
Probably hurt. Hard work.
Congratulations to Mr. Desmond Jones. He received the Award of Merit from the Indiana Association for Career and Technical Education Districts. This award recognizes individuals or programs that demonstrate excellence in career and technical education. Congratulations, Mr. Thank you, Principal Huck. We are proud to congratulate Dr. Rachel Seaver and Mr. Tim Blom. They're totally surprised. They have graduated from the AASA School of Superintendents Association National Principal Supervisor Academy on May 6th. This is a prestigious academy in partnership with the School Superintendents Association and the University of Washington Center for Educational Leadership. Throughout the academy, Dr. Seaver and Mr. Blom deepened their expertise across several dimensions of school leadership. Their journey culminated in Washington, D.C. very recently, where they completed a final capstone project and received their certificate. We are grateful for your leadership.
Yeah, don't I.
Why you want blue, Rachel?
Last but not least, the Washington Township Schools Foundation has provided millions of dollars of private support for our schools over the years. Sponsors of their organizations serve as a crucial part of making that support possible. Tonight, we are recognizing the following companies who have supported us, providing over $70,000. Smitch Associates, represented by Eric Bromell, a principal with the firm. Rose McKinney and Evans, represented by John Mays, a partner with the firm. Huntington Learning Center, represented by owners Lisa Frazier and Bob Mack. Business Furniture, represented by Director Scott Warner. Other sponsors unable to attend tonight are Central Security and Communications, Cyril's Acres, Howard Wealth Management, and Stiefel Endeavor Investment Group. Thank you to the 7 masters and graduate level sponsors and to the other 21 businesses who prioritize Washington Township this year. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Good to see you. Thank you so much.
No, thank you too.
Sorry, put on that now. Where?
Hey.
President Fry, my apologies. We have one of our math stars that just showed up. Can we just recognize her
Please.
really quickly?
Absolutely.
So we have Penelope Sanchez from Spring Mill Elementary.
Job on your man.
Congratulations.
All right, moving on with our agenda tonight, we have our school spotlight on Spring Mill Elementary. Welcome, Mrs. Martin.
Thank you.
We do, just as an administrative note, there's a few more recognitions at the end of this presentation, but if anybody does have anywhere else to go and feels the need to slip out, don't, it's fine.
Don't. Is what you-
Don't be shy. Sorry, don't be shy and feel free. With that, Mrs. Martin.
Okay.
Thank you.
These assistants.
Okay. Good evening. My name is Kalei Martin, and I'm the proud principal of Spring Mill Elementary. We have a lot of Bulldogs in the house, so we're really super excited about that. We're going to start tonight with some celebrations. I just want to share a few of the many celebrations that are happening at Spring Mill Elementary. Our staff continues to lead with excellence. We got a special recognition this year. We had a student teacher that was hosted by Miss Katie Culp in second grade, and her name is Stephanie Gonzalez, and she was named Butler University's 2026 Student Teacher of the Year. So we're super excited about that. And then we also launched our very first Bulldog Leadership Lab led by Katie Keegan and Katie Culp in an effort to strengthen both teacher leadership and instructional practice at Spring Mill. Spring Mill Bulldogs are also achieving at high levels. Our Math Bowl team earned second place in the district. Our current I Read 3 pass rate, and I do want to stress current because we are actively assessing, and this number will be changing. Our current pass rate is 89.4%, and 3 of our third grade students scored in the top 2% of the state, earning the National Math Stars Award. Super proud of that. Whoop, whoop. We are equally proud of the strong partnerships that continue to support our students, including our new partnership with Pause to Read. And I know that our special friend, our dog Birdie, is here tonight. And our MISO sponsorship of a K-5 STEM Day that we just had a couple of weeks ago. And the overwhelming success of our PTO Fall fundraiser, where we exceeded expectations. And also, not to mention, all that we earned at our trivia night. These accomplishments reflect the work, the collaboration, and the commitment of our entire Spring Mill community, because we believe at Spring Mill, every student, every time, every lesson, every day, and tonight we celebrate the impact of that shared commitment. Okay, we're going to move into some of our goals. So I want to highlight the strong progress our students have made this year from iLearn Checkpoint 1 to Checkpoint 3. Grades 3 through 5 showed significant academic growth, with ELA proficiency increasing by 11 percentage points and math increasing by nearly 12 percentage points. We also, within our student subgroups, our Hispanics subgroup in the area of math, they increased their proficiency by over 14 percentage points. This school culture continues to strengthen. Students with fewer than 2 discipline offenses increased to 99.3% this year, which is a huge accomplishment. And it shows the impact of consistent expectations and supportive relationships. And I think most importantly, 90% of our students reported during the Panorama survey this year that they have trusted adults and supportive relationships at school. These results reflect our commitment to our Washington Township vision statement, ensuring that every student at Spring Mill and across this township are celebrated, challenged, and connected every single day. We can't have growth without a few challenges. And so we recognize that even though we've made some significant progress, there still remains a concentration and a requirement for us to stay focused and to move forward with urgency so we can accomplish these lofty goals. Attendance still remains a challenge, and as our overall rate decreased from Q1 from 95.3% to 93.6% in Q3. And this just reinforces the importance that we have to have strong family partnerships. And you can see evidence of that tonight with a lot of our PTO and very important families at Spring Mill in attendance, and that we have to continue to support attendance through systems built at the building level. Academically, our 5th grade ELA remains an area that we are focused on, with our proficiency decreasing from Checkpoint 2 to Checkpoint 3, and highlighting the need for us to make sure that we have targeted intervention and instructional support. And our Panorama survey data that showed that 60% of our students feel confident, but don't always feel confident that they can learn all subjects taught in class. So we know that we've got to build confidence and remind students that they can and they will achieve great things at Spring Mill. We have some promising practice that you will see at Spring Mill if you visit on any given day. You will notice that we have a huge focus on data tracking so that we can narrow student achievement gaps. One of our key strategies is making sure that we are school-wide tracking data and empowering students to monitor and own their progress, set goals, and take ownership of their learning. We also have strengthened our instructional response system by adding targeted data meetings after checkpoints for classes not yet meeting our school-wide goals. And then our Aim for AD Behavior Challenge for grades 3 through 5 promoted positive behavior, protected instructional time, and helped create consistent learning environments where students can focus, grow, and continue to exceed. All right, we have some special recognitions tonight. For our portrait of a Panther, we are very excited to celebrate Javon Creighton, a 5th grader at Spring Mill who embodies all of these leadership qualities and traits. Mr. Hakeem, you're getting a great falcon next year. You're welcome. For our above and beyond parent recognition, we'd like to recognize Courtney Corley tonight. Yeah, you got to come up, Courtney. She likes to stay in the background, but this is her spotlight tonight. We're very appreciative of Courtney. She has both a 1st grader and a kindergartner at Spring Mill. Thank you for your support.
Congratulations and thank you for everything. Thank you for all you're doing for.
And for our supportive partnership recognition, we'd like to recognize Kate Nolly and Birdie with Pause to Read. Birdie!
What? Oh my gosh. Oh, it's metal. John, you forgot the metal frame. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
I was waiting to see you put that metal on. Oh, sweet. Jealous, Sean.
And last but not least, we are very grateful for our ongoing partnership with the Washington Township Schools Foundation and the support that they continue to provide for Spring Mill students and staff through organizations like Teachers Treasures, all the way to Donors Choose, and their matching opportunities. Over the last 2 years, Spring Mill has received nearly $15,000 in grants, helping us provide resources, opportunities, and experiences that directly benefit student learning. And we're just incredibly grateful for the foundation's continued investment in our school community. Thank you for sharing in this moment with us, and have a great evening.
Thank you, Mrs. Martin, and thank you, Spring Mill community, for bringing your spirit tonight. We appreciate it. Next item on the agenda is our superintendent's announcements. Dr. Taylor.
All right. Thank you, President Fry. Good evening, board members. Good evening, Washington Township community. Outstanding job, as always, dogs. Way to go. Thanks for being here tonight. A few announcements this evening. I wanted to start with just making sure the board was aware that the Indiana's new school accountability model was finally approved. So we're I attached a message there below for you to see from our executive director of the Indiana Association of Public School Superintendents. But we are going to be doing some training on the new model this summer with our leaders, and then that will trickle out to staff, and then making sure our community is aware of what's all involved with the new school letter grade accountability model. Also, we celebrated our first ever Washington Township Schools National Elementary Honor Society induction recognition ceremony last week at the Burge Auditorium. It was a phenomenal night, lots of school spirit. We had over 190 inductees across our 8 elementary schools. And so I wanted to be sure to share some of those photos with you for you to see. Also, one of our favorite events of the year, the graduation parade, was also held last week. It's where our seniors get in their cap and gown and they travel to their elementary and middle schools and reconnect with past teachers. And it's just kind of a tear-jerking moment and a great celebratory moment and a perfect symbol, in my opinion, of our We Grow Panthers tagline in this district. And so I also attached a link there for you to see pictures. We'll also have a video that is in production mode right now that we're going to show as part of our opening to our actual graduation commencement here in a few weeks. So we're excited for that as well. Special congratulations to Jill Kropa and Heather Brannigan on their selection to participate in the first cohort of the CEL School Leadership Initiative. CEL stands for the Center on Education and Lifelong Learning, and CSLI is a leadership initiative designed to support principals, assistant principals, and emerging teachers leaders in strengthening inclusive schools where students with disabilities thrive. And so special shout out to Jill and Heather for being willing to take on that challenge and wanting to learn and grow in that area for our district. And so there's a little email from Dr. Nancy from the Indiana State Director of Special Education and Dr. Penny Gregory from CEL there for you to review. And then finally, I did think it was important. It's been an exciting, well, not really an exciting, but it's been a challenging last few days relative to the nationwide data breach that Instructure is engaged in right now. We know Instructure is part of Canvas for us. And so I wanted to just take a moment to update the board and our community on where we are with that nationwide data breach. And so last week's Instructure's Canvas LMS was taken down nationwide due to this data breach. We have not received notice of any specific Washington Township user data being accessed as of this time. It is important to note that the data targeted included usernames, email addresses, course names, enrollment information, and messages, not financial, medical, or other personally identifiable information. Instructure is working with a third-party forensic team, CrowdStrike, and it will likely take weeks before we have this information. Instructure assured us that if there is any resulting mandatory reporting or communications, they will handle it and reach out directly to our impacted users. The system is back up and secured. We are generating new security keys and will reconnect Grade Passback and other integrations to ease the workload of our teachers right now who are having to navigate it during a very critical time of year with that link to Skyward. Instructure also released a statement with those excerpts that we've attached for your review, but this communication will go out to families as well as staff this evening as well. So just wanted to make sure the board and community were aware of that Instructure update. And that concludes my announcements this evening. I'll turn it back over to you, President Fry.
Thank you, Dr. Taylor. The next item on our agenda is comments from the public. We did have one person sign in, although they may have just signed in to tell us they were here. But if Tristan in Egypt were here to, I think they actually just signed in from getting recognition. So we always appreciate knowing that you're here. So no one signed in to speak. However, if anyone is here who did not sign in and would like to make public comment to the board, now would be the time. So I will pause, let anybody make their way to the podium if they are here to make public comment. And seeing none, I will go ahead and wrap up that agenda item and move on to our approval of the consent agenda. Dr. Kaiser.
Thank you. President Fry, members of the board, I recommend that you approve the consent agenda for this meeting. This consent agenda includes approval of the minutes of the April 22nd, 2026 regular board meeting and the memorandum of the April 22nd, 2026 work study session, approval of 4 payroll calculation summary reports, a claims docket in the amount of $9,378,234.27, a human resources report containing 3 new hires, numbers 277 to 279, 23 resignations, numbers 145 to 167, and 2 terminations, numbers 26 and 27 for classified personnel. For certified personnel, 18 new appointments, numbers 10 through 27, 18 resignations, numbers 57 through 74, 2 retirements, numbers 15 and 16, 7 transfers, numbers 5 through 11, and 1 maternity, child rearing, or adoptive leave, number 1. There are 4 non-competitive grants, gifts, or donations to present for board approval. The Perkins 5 grant for 2026-27 in the amount of $319,315. The Pathways subscription renewal in the amount of $14,672. The Panorama student survey renewal in the amount of $22,728. And the Zello College and Career Readiness renewal in the amount of $39,449.38. Information has been provided in your packet, your review this evening.
Board, are there any questions regarding the consent agenda? Do I have a motion?
I move we approve the consent agenda as presented by Dr. Kaiser.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? I will go ahead and call the vote. We do have one virtual attendee tonight, Mr. Thompson, so we will be doing roll call votes tonight. Mr. Thompson,
Aye.
Mr. Turner,
Aye.
Ms. Worth Kruger,
Aye.
Ms. George Davis. I am also an aye. It passes 5-0. Thank you, Dr. Kaiser.
And as we sometimes do in the consent agenda, we have something to highlight tonight. So I'm going to turn things over to my friend and colleague, Mr. Jagarett, to help me out with that.
President Fry, members of the board, Dr. Taylor, we are thrilled for your approval of our assistant principal. This process was rigorous and lengthy. We had 71 applicants in about 2 weeks, so much so that I had to ask our Human Resources Department to turn that post off so that we could get to work. We had about 3 rounds that involved a broad-based stakeholder process interview with parents, teachers, WTEA, administrators, department chairs, and students. We had 1 candidate to rise to the top, and she's here tonight. We want to welcome Dr. Shelley Bethel. Dr. Bethel is currently employed at Noblesville School Corporation, where she spent the last 6 years in central office. The previous 7 years as a classroom teacher and literacy specialist. Her doctorate in research was on understanding 4th grade Black males and their sense of belonging and perception of academic achievement. Her 3 children are here, 2 boys that are Morehouse College and 1 high school daughter at Cathedral. Bryson, Addison, and Jackson are here with their mom. Dr. Bethel enjoys cooking and volunteering in the community. We're so happy that she's here. There are members of our cabinet who are here to welcome her. I'd like for them to stand up. We're just so happy that she's here. Dr. Bethel.
Welcome. Nice to meet you.
Give us some.
We're good.
excited to have you. Welcome.
Well,
All right, moving on to our action items for this evening. Mrs. Smith is going to start us off with first quarter financial reports.
Good evening, Madam President, Dr. Taylor, members of the board. I bring to you this evening our first quarter of 2026 reports. And this report is from our major budgeted funds, which is the education fund, our operating referendum fund, and our operations fund. These are our three main funds where the majority of our staff and items are spent from. So you'll see there at the top, it shows our budget. So you'll see over 72% of these three budgets are all salaries and benefits. So we know that that's what makes our district great, is our people. And then you'll also see the rest of it miscellaneous through different professional services, purchase services, utilities, and capital outlay. So you'll see here on the left-hand side is the budget piece of what was approved or anticipated for our revenue and our expenditures. And then you'll see in the middle sections under the yellow is our quarter and our year to date, which of course, with this being the first quarter of this calendar year, that's how our budgets run, January through December. Those numbers are the same. So you'll see we've received approximately 16% of our revenue at this time of year. When you think of, oh, why have we only received 16% in the first quarter? Well, when you think of these funds, education fund, we receive our revenue through monthly tuition support according to our average daily membership, our ADM. And the other two funds are property tax revenue funds that we receive the majority of those funds in June and December. So that's why this is customary at this time of year. We're right on target for that revenue that we've received. Then moving down to our expenditures, you'll see that also about 25% of our expenditures, which is right on target for this time of year with these first 3 months, which when you think of different quarters of the year, you remember during the summer, we have our biggest times for school when school is in session, and that is our last quarter of a calendar year and our first and second quarter, because during the summer we have those 5 or 6 weeks that most of our school personnel are not in session. So right when you're looking at our numbers, you'll see we're right under $44 million, and we're right on target for this time of year for these three funds. I would be happy to answer any questions the board may have on this first quarter of the financial reports for 2026.
Board, any questions? Seeing none, do I have a motion?
I move that we approve the first quarter 2026 financial reports for January, February, and March as presented by Mrs. Smith.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? I will go ahead and call the vote. Mr. Thompson?
Yes, aye.
Mr. Turner?
aye.
Ms. Horth Krueger?
Aye.
Ms. George Davis? I'm also an aye. Thank you. Those are approved 5-0. Moving on, Dr. Seaver and Mr. Blom have action item number 2, submission of a K-12 robotics competition grant.
Good evening, President Fry, Dr. Taylor, and members of the board. I'm here tonight with Mr. Blom to seek approval to submit the 2026-2027 K-12 robotics competition grant application. As you know from our last board meeting, we have a lot of excitement in the district regarding our robotics teams, and so we are seeking to apply for this grant. If we were to be awarded it, we would be able to increase our robotics competition programs across the district, expand opportunities, increase interest, and improve skills in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. And we're happy to answer any questions the board may have.
Board, any questions? Do I have a motion?
I move that we approve the submission of the 2026-2027 K-12 robotics competition grant application as presented by Dr. Seaver and Blom.
Been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? I'll call the vote. Mr. Thompson?
Yes.
Mr. Turner?
Aye.
Ms. Horth Krueger? Ms. George Davis? I'm also an aye. That passes 5-0. Thank you very much. Dr. Seaver, you get to stay up there. For item number 3, approval of resolution authorizing supplemental pay for middle school department leads.
Yes, again, I am here, President Fry, Dr. Taylor, and members of the board, seeking approval of the resolution approving supplemental pay for a middle school department lead position. This is a pilot initiative that would authorize Washington Township to provide a $5,000 base salary stipend to teachers who serve as a middle school department lead while maintaining full-time teaching responsibilities during the 26-27 school year. Based on current staffing and licensure, pilot is projected to affect 4 open middle school department chair positions, 1 at Northview, 1 at West Lane, and 2 at Eastwood. Current vacancies, including 4 middle school department chair resignations, present a timely opportunity for strategic reinvestment rather than a direct backfill. And these open department chair positions would be dissolved and replaced by a department lead with this supplemental compensation who teaches full-time, leads department meetings, and conducts informal walkthroughs and provides instructional feedback. Findings from this pilot would be used to evaluate the model's effectiveness and inform future staffing decisions. In your board docs, you have a description of the middle school department lead position. As a related side note, we would also pilot an academic chair position at Eastwood Middle School in 2026-27, given that Eastwood has had 2 department chair resignations. The academic chair will teach 2 to 3 classes, formally evaluate approximately 20 teachers, and lead school-wide professional learning, which is a role very similar to our department chairs at North Central High School, and we found that to be very effective. With that, I'm happy to answer any questions the board may have.
Board, any questions? Do I have a motion?
Move to approve the resolution authorizing supplemental pay for middle school department leads as presented by Dr.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Just as a point, I know, I've had an opportunity to have some discussions about this one-on-one, and I do see this as a great way to help us develop more teacher leaders and allow more teachers to step into some additional leadership roles and kind of test out how they feel about administration before making the leap. So I appreciate the creativity on this proposal, given the openings we had.
Thank you.
Ms. Horst Krueger.
I just wanted to add a quick comment. I also appreciate taking a breath, looking at this differently, not just moving forward as we've always moved forward. So I appreciate the fact that we're looking at this in a different way.
I will go ahead and call the vote. Mr. Thompson?
Yes.
Mr. Turner?
Aye.
Ms. Horst Krueger?
Aye.
Ms. George Davis?
Aye.
I'm also an aye. That is approved 5-0.
Thank you.
Thank you. Number 4 agenda item is Mr. Funk with the annual consortium agreement for JEL.
Good evening, President Fry, members of the board, and Dr. Taylor. I'm here seeking approval for the 2026, 27, and 27, 28 Perkins 5 Grant Consortium Agreement. The J. Everett Light Career Center is an area educational technical site that serves 12+ corporations in northern Marion County, Boone and Hamilton counties with over 18 quality career technical programs via an MOU or consortium agreement. The projected enrollment for 26-27 is over 1,100 students. JEL is funded by student tuition monies paid for by the sending schools, districts, and the Carl Perkins 5 grant. J. Everett Light Career Center shall be under the administrative and fiscal control of the Board of Education of the Metropolitan School District of Washington Township, Marion County, Indiana, and said board shall have the authority and responsibility to determine all final decisions concerning the operation and financing of the Career Center. The agreement does not include managerial and day-to-day operations of the Career Center, such as curriculum, policies, procedures, and daily operations. These items are addressed via Next Level Program Study, each school board policy, and student handbook. The signed agreements and MOU from all participating schools are filed as required documentation per Perkins 5 monitoring process, which will occur during the 26, 27, and 27-28 school year. I will answer any questions that you have at this time.
Board, any questions? Do I have a motion?
I move that we approve the Washington Township Schools Consortium Agreement with J. Everett Light Career Center as presented by Mr. Funk.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? I'll just note, kind of for purposes of the public, this is something that we do see as a board on a regular basis, because this is what allows us to serve students from other districts who don't have their JELs through our JEL. So that was my only point of discussion. Any other points of discussion before I call the vote? All right, I will call the vote. Mr. Thompson?
Aye.
Mr. Turner?
Aye.
Ms. Worth Kruger?
Aye.
Ms. George Davis?
Aye.
I'm also an aye. That passes 5-0. Thank you very much, Mr. Funk. Ms. Ferguson, action item number 5, approval of submission of the 26-27 Cambridge grant through the IDOE.
Good evening, President Fry, members of the board, and Dr. Taylor. My name is Katie Ferguson, the English as a New Language Department Chair at North Central. I am requesting board approval for North Central to apply for the next round of the 26-27 Cambridge grant through the IDOE in the amount of $25,000. The IDOE has since released an increase in the grant amount, and we intend to apply for the full amount of $25,000. This grant opportunity would support continued professional development and implementation of the Cambridge Thinking Skills course for English language learners, including curricular materials, as well as fund the end of course examination for students. This request builds upon the successful award from the 25-26 Cambridge grant, which supported the initial purchase of curricular materials and foundational training for staff. The grant window opens in May, and we will be notified of the awards in June. Thank you for your consideration and continued support of opportunities like this for our population of multilingual learners. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have at this time.
Any questions on this one? Ms. Worth Kruger.
How many awards do they grant?
So I believe it's a competitive grant from the IDOE. I'm not sure of anyone who hasn't received the grant.
Okay. It's good to know. And we have received it before, you said.
Yeah, we just received it for the 25-26. We will begin implementing the courses this upcoming school year.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Do I have a motion?
I move we approve the approve the submission to apply for the 2026-2027 Cambridge grant through IDOE as presented by Ms. Ferguson.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the vote. Mr. Thompson?
Yes. Sorry.
Mr. Turner?
Aye.
Ms. Worth Kruger?
Aye.
Ms. George Davis?
Aye.
I am also an aye. That is approved 5-0. Thank you for being here to present that. Dr. Whitman, action item number 6 for a reduction in force.
Good evening, President Fry, Dr. Taylor, members of the board. I am here to respectfully and thoughtfully offer to you for your approval the statutory requirement to proceed with the reduction in force for cosmetology, 1 position at the J. Everett Light Career Center for the 26-27 school year. This recommendation is the result of a planned elimination of the Intro to Cosmetology course, which has reduced both course offerings and projected student enrollment demand within the program. As part of a broader strategic review of the career and technical education programming, the district continues to align staffing and instructional offerings with workforce demand, program sustainability, and Indiana state funding priorities to ensure responsible stewardship of district resources and continued access to high-valued educational pathways for students. RIFs are hard. They are hard on the people that are directly impacted, whose job is being eliminated. They're also hard on the people who are responsible, leadership and the board, for making fiscally strong decisions and tough decisions to move forward. You remember back in October, we presented to the board the course offerings that are approved through the state of Indiana for the new career diploma pathways that are implemented. They were voted on by the state board in 2011, and they will roll up with the class of 2029. Those reorient what we are doing in high school dramatically, specifically with workforce development and career and technical education. To that end, the introduction to cosmetology course doesn't exist anymore. And in fact, for this current school year, we had to seek a waiver from the state of Indiana to continue to offer it. It is a one period, 1 hour course that is a survey course that does not lead to a high wage, high value, high demand career pathway. Now, that's not saying cosmetology is dead or gone, because it's not, and it still exists at the J. Everett Light Career Center. But now cosmetology is part of a block of courses, year 1 and year 2. Because of the way those are structured, those are funded at a higher rate by the state of Indiana, and the year 1 and year 2 clusters lead to certification in cosmetology for those students. We were purposeful in carving out, per what the state is requiring us to do, a course that does not lead to that pathway any longer. And if you remember back in October, we replaced that full-time equivalency position with an HVAC position, which is a high wage, high demand position, which we are putting in place this fall. And actually, I believe you will be approving that teacher, I think this week or this board meeting. If not, it's going to be on the next board agenda. But I tell you that to say this reduction was incredibly thoughtful. We have 3 cosmetology teachers. They are all quality people, and we wish them all well. We were very thoughtful and communicative to the teacher who had the least experience in the district to be able to make this decision to move forward. Tried to give them a long runway to be able to plan pending board approval. So to that end, we are recommending a very position-driven, not employee performance decided reduction in force that meets all of the required statutory procedures for Indiana Code 2028 7.5. And we want to make sure that you understand we did look at teacher licensure to determine whether or not there was any other opportunity for a teacher to fill a different position if that were possible. In this case, it is not. So with great respect and humility, I'm offering for you the approval to proceed with the reduction in force per Indiana Code.
Board, any questions for Dr. Whitman?
I guess not question, comment, I'm not sure, but my only concern is we just approved like for the Lebanon School District for a cosmetology program. And did we ever think or look at the opportunity to see if there was a way that that teacher could help in that program before we approve that contract?
I think Mr. Funk can address that.
Steve and I did do that. I reached out to all the directors in the state of Indiana that to see if they had anything opened up. C9 had a position opened for her. She lives on the south side, so she's driving from the south side to the north side. And I can say that they hired her. So we did the reduction in force, but I also reached out and found her a job as well.
That's great news. Okay, thank you.
I'm sorry, can you clarify, is this who we're talking about right now or the someone before?
Talking about right now.
Okay. Sorry, because I could barely hear Mr. Thompson. Okay, thank you.
Ms. George. Ms. Horth-Kruger, sorry, gosh.
I just want to make sure that we're clear. So, and that I'm understanding. So in a nutshell, because of the diploma overhaul and how it's all structured now, this class apparently does not exist anywhere else, and we had to get special permission to have it, the intro.
Correct.
Okay. So with the elimination of that class, I'm very grateful that the educator has found employment. That's great. But with the elimination of that class, that does not negatively impact students who are interested in cosmetology, those classes still exist. We are not eliminating the program. We eliminated the intro. I just want to make sure that everybody's hearing that very clearly.
That is correct.
Okay, thank you.
New information.
Okay, any other questions? Do I have a motion, please?
Okay. I move that we approve the statutory board approval request for the reduction in force for the cosmetology position as presented by Dr. Whitman.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? I think we hit our discussion points already, so I will call the vote. Mr. Thompson,
No.
Mr. Turner,
Aye.
Ms. Horth Krueger,
Aye.
Ms. George Davis.
Aye.
I am also an aye. That is approved 4-0. 4-1. Thank you.
Thank you.
Dr. Whitman, you get to stay right there, I do believe, and be joined by Mrs. Smith and Mrs. Red, if appropriate, for the approval of the restructured classified compensation schedule.
Do you want to come up, Mr. Smith? No? Yes? Come on. All right. President Fry, Dr. Taylor, members of the board, Ms. Smith and I are very excited to come to you today with a request to approve the restructured classified compensation schedule. We respectfully are requesting your approval of a proposal that represents the second phase comprehensive multi-year compensation of benefits and modernization strategy designed to improve equity, staff retention, recruitment, competitiveness, and long-term organizational sustainability. The restructure transitions the district from a very fragmented and inconsistent compensation model practices to a more unified, transparent, and objective step-based compensation model for our classified employees, to whom we are ever grateful for their service to our students in this district. Proposal also establishes a more competitive minimum starting wage and creates clearly defined pathways for professional growth and advancement through incentives tied to advanced credentials, certifications, and bilingual skills. We want to encourage both growth in their career trajectory, but also recognize when they bring certifications and credentials to the table. This proposed compensation structure was intentionally developed to support predictable and stable budgeting for the next 6 to 8 years, which Ms. Smith is thrilled to be able to rely on, while strengthening the district's ability to attract and retain high-quality employees. We've done extensive market analysis and collaboration input from district leadership, and the model was designed to ensure long-term fiscal stability, operational consistency, and we believe it is expected to provide a cost savings over the long term by reducing turnover, improving retention, minimizing staff disruptions, and creating an efficient and sustainable compensation framework. It is with tremendous pride in the two teams through business services and HR that worked with the totality of the administrative leadership that we present this for your approval.
Board questions? I will start because this is kind of always important in major changes like this. Can you share a little bit about what your communication strategy is? Anytime you talk about pay, you know, the communication is important. So if you can share a little bit of that, that would be helpful.
So upon board effectuating this change, we are prepared tomorrow to do a comprehensive communication plan that will include every single classified employee getting a personalized email that will tell them how their pay is affected by this change. It will provide a summary explanation of what has been accomplished through this and how they have a path forward with respect to regular, anticipated step increases and the opportunity for the additives to be considered for additional compensation. We've also developed a glossary of terms and frequently asked questions that we can prepare our administrative leadership and department leadership to be able to respond to. We also are creating an opportunity through a Google form that people who still have questions are going to be able to respond to that. Would you add anything, Ms. Smith, to that? Because you did a lot of the infographics.
Yeah, in your board packet, you'll see 4 of the main infographics, or actually 6. There's 3 for the hourly and classified hourly and 3 for the classified salary. So you'll see some of that information in your board packet.
Great. Thank
Any
you.
other questions?
Any other questions, board, Mr. Turner?
So can you also just for the record, so we have it recorded, but how does this, and I'm setting you up for this one in a good way, but how is this kind of similar to what we did with the bus drivers years ago? And how do you, because of the budget piece that you're excited about and we're excited about, how does that work? I mean, is it, does it matter what the ADM is? I mean, how are we doing this?
Right. When we developed it through the bus drivers, we had, I can't remember at that time, like a 7 or 8 scale process where we knew as someone came in where they would be starting, what years they'd be moving up. So we knew the percentages ahead of time. We downloaded that information into a master report where then we can project out, if you remember what the old teacher scattergrams used to look like. And budgeting those, you would just move the year 1 more year and it would give you the total dollar impact. This is the same feature. We used the step scales that we developed from the bus drivers transportation, and then we developed them even further with the additives and those type of things. So doing that helps us project out from now till, if you wanted to know 10 years from now, what that impact will be with the same employees. And of course, we have turnover. We're hoping this will help with the turnover, being more competitive with doing the full market analysis on every single position in the district. And we feel that we'll be very marketable that way.
Thank you.
Any further questions? Do I have a motion?
Move to approve the restructured classified compensation schedule as presented by Dr. Whitman.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion?
Can I have a comment now on this too? I just want to say, I know this was a lot of work. I know it was a lot of thought that went into this. I will say though that those, I don't know who I'm patting on the back, but the infographics make it easier for somebody to understand. Okay. To me, it would make it easier to understand what's going on, where my pay is, what can I do to increase the pay, et cetera. So I appreciate, I guess it's Mrs. Smith. Thanks for putting those together. But just in general, the team working on this, it was a lot of thought and process that went into this. So thank you.
Yes, I will join in just acknowledging the hours and thoughtfulness of hard work that went into this. Thank you. With that, I will call the vote. Mr. Thompson,
Yes.
Mr. Turner,
Aye.
Ms. Hortzberger,
Aye.
Ms. George Davis.
Aye.
I am also an aye. So that is approved 5-0. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Action item number 8, Dr. Pettigrew, is student handbook and code of conduct update.
Good evening, Board President, Dr. Taylor, members of the board. And I'll ask, I think I have some members of the handbook team, Mr. Bostic, Ms. Taylor, Ms. Brannigan. Yep, high school team. So we are pleased to present the proposed pre-K 12 student handbook and pre-K. This is probably your first time seeing that one. And so we're excited to receive that from ELC. Dr. Skibinski is here to answer any questions about the ELC handbook and the code of conduct updates for the 26-27 school year. So I do want to recognize the dedication of this team that has kind of sifted through the feedback from parents, from students, from staff regarding the handbook. And so if you remember back in 2024, we had several handbook changes. But this year and since then, it has mostly gone largely unchanged. And so I think that's a reflection of the strong foundation in place in our handbooks. The updates that you see before you this evening are minor in nature, but designed to strengthen the handbook as a resource for our families and our staff. Regarding the code of conduct, I do want to note that it is not our typical practice to bring code of conduct this early. I typically bring it in June. We have one minor change relative to the code of conduct, so I felt it was appropriate to bring it with the handbooks. But we do anticipate some additional minor changes related to the DOE codes for student conduct. And so once we have that finalized from the DOE, which doesn't impact anything teacher facing, it's more or less behind the scenes and skyward. then we will get those sent over. But I am requesting that the board grant me permission, as in previous years, to make those minimal adjustments to the handbook and code of conduct as needed. And those will reflect any updated legislation, i.e. cell phone, any tweaks that we need to make there. Any legal requirements such as the vaccination schedule, which has not been released by the health department yet, or any other IDOE guidance like the Skyward codes. And so as in past years, those edits will be shared with Dr. Taylor and members of the board. So the team is here and happy to answer any questions at the level, but you do have those corrections or edits in your packet. We're here for questions.
I do have a couple questions to start with. The first is, and I'm sorry I didn't notice this more ahead of time. I noticed for North Central that you're now going to allow hats and sunglasses. Is that correct?
Well,
what's the thinking behind that? Because
Yeah.
if I'm a teacher and a kid is sitting there with his hat down and sunglasses on, can I really not tell him to take?
Not hat allowed in class. So kids not allowed to wear a hat in class during instruction. But when kids come in the building, there's not an overemphasis on, and this is what they've asked, the hats, because it draws negative attention and interactions between the administrators and the students. Students are not allowed to sit in class with hats on, but it's not anything they're going to chase the kids down for when they come in the building. And so the administrators have asked that of the restrictions that are in place, if that one can be less, if we can take that off the list. And so I'm not sure if there's anything else from the high school. I covered it. Okay.
So I think I understand that in terms of when kids are coming in, you don't want to have to be like, take off your hat, take off your hat. But I mean, is there, obviously, I'm not looking at the whole thing. I'm just looking at
Sure.
the changes. Where is the clarity about in the classroom then?
Yeah. I don't know that's a great disclaimer we could put in the handbook, because it's not clear where it says in the classroom. That is a known amongst the admin team. But if a student is reading it, to your point, they may assume that they're allowed to wear it in the classroom. So we can make that adjustment.
Okay, yeah, my concern is I do want to support
Sure.
our teachers. And if I'm a teacher and, a
Sure.
kid is doing that, I don't want them to feel like we are not
Absolutely.
supportive of them engaging that student by, having them remove the things that are preventing their engagement. Okay. And I'm sorry, I had one other question. Hold on 1 second, sorry. It slipped my mind. So while I think of it, I'll see, does anybody else have questions?
I don't.
Give me one moment. I had another one in my head and it disappeared on me. Oh, this is a little more procedural, so I may drag Dr. Taylor into this. And again, I apologize, I didn't catch this ahead of time. So in our board docs, we have the proposed changes in handbooks, which is fine. You're also asking that we grant that permission to make those minimal adjustments. Is there an associated resolution for that? Because I'm just a little concerned, can we actually vote on that piece as just a paragraph in board docs without there actually being some sort of resolution?
Well, the last 2 years you have, so I brought that because what happened was one year we brought the handbook and then we had an update to the vaccination schedule. We had to bring it back the next month before putting it in the handbook. We had an update with Help Me. We had to wait until the next month to bring it. And so a couple of years ago, at the request of Dr. Woodson, I did bring it to the board for approval to make those minor updates. But that's just my historical knowledge. I'm not sure if anything prior to that.
No, nothing prior to that, other than I think part of the agreement was that any changes had to come to me and you had to review as well. It wasn't just a taken for granted assumption it was going to happen. So.
So I'm going to take a point of order if that's okay. And I guess I'm going to make the motion here. And I'm sorry to the administration because this means it's something else you're going to have to put on the June calendar. I'm not comfortable voting to approve that without it being some sort of formal resolution. So I'm comfortable with moving forward with these changes tonight. So I'm going to make a motion that we approve those. But the sort of blanket permission ongoing, I'm going to ask that we table that and have you come back with just something that brings a little more formality to that. I apologize to throw that wrench in it, but okay. So I am going ahead and making the motion that we do approve the handbook and the changes that were provided to us in board docs for now. Is there a second for that?
I'll second.
Okay. Any further discussion? I will go ahead and call the vote. All those in favor of approving the motion in front of you, which is just to approve the new handbook for ELC and the revisions in front of us. Mr. Thompson,
Yes.
Mr. Turner,
I'm going to abstain.
Ms. Horth Krueger,
Yes.
Ms. George Davis.
Yeah, I'm abstaining as well.
Okay, and I am an aye as well. So those changes will pass with 3 aye votes to abstentions. And then in terms of your request for kind of a approval for minor things going forward, I'll work with Dr. Taylor to address that at the next meeting. So, and I'm sorry that wasn't something I caught, ahead of time.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, and thank you for your work on that. Okay. Number 9, Dr. Kaiser, you're back up with a first reading of board policies.
Thank you. Dr. Taylor, President Fry, members of the board, I come to you tonight to present a first reading of board policy changes to the following policies. A200, which is firearms, weapons, and destructive devices. This edit adds new language from HEA 1343 on imitation firearms. A275, which is our policy on school wellness. Updates have been made regarding training requirements, drinking water, and fundraisers from recent Indiana Department of Health guidance. Policy C175, which is student attendance, academic engagement, and truancy prevention. Updates that excused absences related to active duty service and participation in the Civil Air Patrol from House Enrolled Act 1004. Board Policy C525, which is medical needs at school. It includes updates regarding the use of AEDs under House Enrolled Act 1004. D475, which is justifiable decrease in teaching positions. It updates to remove language for teachers awaiting state test scores as a component of evaluation. That was a holdover from when we weren't receiving scores until after the summer, and there was language in there about those test scores, and they come in at a different time now. F101, which is a new policy called Budget Adoption and Implementation. This establishes board authority to manage financial affairs for the district and follows DLGF guidance on the adopting and implementing of the annual budget. Board Policy F125, which is purchasing procedures and capital assets. This adds new language regarding prohibited contract provisions and adds services as a definition and reference. It also adds language to include donated land. Policy G325, which is free and reduced price meals. These updates include language on the protection of privacy for students who receive free and reduced lunch. Board Policy H125, which is district support organizations. And this update makes explicit that school corporations are not responsible for the finances of approved support organizations. And then finally, H150, which is public records. This adds new language from House Enrolled Act 1360 on data scraping and phishing requests, as well as out-of-state requests for public records. As always, a copy of the original policies with their red line edits are available in your board documents this evening for review, as well as a clean version of what the new policy will read if ultimately approved by the board. This concludes my presentation of the first reading of these policies, and I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Board questions?
Really just a comment, but we always make this comment just for the public's awareness. Ms. George Davis and I are on the policy committee and thoroughly review these policies with Dr. Kaiser, and most of these are statutory changes. So just saying that for the public's good.
Thank you for that, Mr. Thompson. Seeing no other questions, do I have a motion?
I move we approve the first reading of the revisions and additions to the board policies as presented by Dr. Kaiser.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? I will go ahead and call the vote. Mr. Thompson?
Aye.
Mr. Turner?
Aye.
Ms. Horth Krueger?
Aye.
Ms. George Davis?
Aye.
I'm also an aye. First reading is approved. We'll
Thank you.
see you next month for second reading. Thank you. Action item number 10, Mr. Boots, as always, approval of capital project change orders.
Thank you, Madam President. Good evening, Dr. Taylor and members of the board. I am here this evening asking for approval of project change order number 0010 to Skillman Davis Joint Venture GMP contract for renovation at North Central High School Phase 3, details of which were presented in your board packet. The entire cost of that change order is $545,991, and funding will come from the capital referendum funds. Be happy to respond to any questions.
Questions?
What is the lockdown doors? I just want to like it sounds cool, but like what does it allow us to do?
Yeah. Good question. And that is obviously the majority of this change order. That was an initiative embarked some months ago. We worked with a committee and consisting of Dr. Taylor and Chief Roosevelt Lindsay, high school administration, construction professionals to improve and implement a lockdown procedure for the entire high school to improve that safety and security in the event of an intruder. We worked with Mrs. Smith to identify that we had the funding for that, and we are now implementing it based on this change order.
So is that simply like something crazy happens, you can just like press a button and all the doors lock?
Yes.
Okay.
I can't quite understand. Yes.
Yeah, Mr. Thompson, just to clarify that. So what we were looking for is we had established a standard across all levels except our high school. So we had an elementary standard for how our doors would lock down in the event of having to go to a lockdown drill or a lockdown procedure. We had a standards across all 3 middle schools, but because of the complexity and the size of that high school, we hadn't yet determined what that standard was going to look like at our high school in terms of securing kind of the interior perimeter to lock down. So essentially you would have certain sections of the building that no one could get, that an intruder could not get through. So that it was a little bit more in alignment with our middles and our elementaries. And so that's what this demonstrates right here, is that we do have certain doors that are going to operate like our middle school, some of our middle school doors and elementary doors do in the event of a push button lockdown.
Got it. Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Ms. George Davis?
This is probably like a nickel and dime question, but I'm gonna ask it anyway because like I'm looking at this video board that was donated by the swim club. And then it says we're providing the technology and power.
Yeah.
I would assume, yes, the power, because you can't separate out the power of one part of the building. But I guess I'm wondering, when the swim club thought about this, did they not think about the technology required to make it come to fruition?
Right. There was originally during design 3 or more years ago that replacement of that video board was not considered. Technology has now presented it. Technology costs go down over time, so it went down to within reach. They raised the money to provide the board itself, and then the district contributed just the cost of bringing power and bringing the technology cabling to the board itself.
So when they were doing this, this was kind of an agreement, you guys do the board. It wasn't they popped up with a board and then we're like, oh, can you help us out? There was something in discussion about this. Okay.
Yes. Yes, ma'am.
Further questions? Mr. Turner?
So on 2 things. One's going to be a repeat. You've answered it before, but I want you to repeat it for me again because it kind of ties into what Ms. George Davis just asked. So when you look at the lockdown, I know how we go through these change orders. Sometimes it's owner's request because you're like, oh man, we probably should have done this.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's things were omitted out of the drawings, things were omitted out of just the planning for this, and it's oh crap, we need it. So looking at this, the lockdown doors, to Dr. Taylor, to your point, that's something we did not think about before the work, and then all of a sudden it's like, oops. I'm just asking, is that kind of what happened? It was almost a afterthought, but man, we really wanted to do it? Or is it something that,
Have the history on that.
Oh, there we go. Okay,
Oh,
yeah. A little history here.
yeah,
No, we spent lots of hours during the design time going through it. But we just didn't get there, and we didn't want to hold up the project with the schedule and getting it out there. And we wanted to bring additional resources in to help us through that process. So we finally got to that point, and now we're bringing the change order.
just helps with understanding. And it ties to my last question. It's with the, this just seems like, why is this omitted? The add floor boxes for the science labs. I mean, wouldn't that be a normal part of your?
It should have been, and that's why it's listed as an error, design error omission. It is tracked that way as every one of these items are.
That's because you've said it before that those are tracked, and at the end of the project, and
Correct.
okay, you go back to try to get some of those fees back. Got it. That's what I wanted you to say.
Okay.
And I will add too, some of that had to do with the furniture design and the old existing furniture design and the way the conduit went down and into the floor. And so we made some changes with that as well.
Okay, that helps. If somebody really dug into this and looked at it, they could kind of see that. Okay,
There's a lot there.
thank you.
Well, and if I may, this is sort of half question, half discussion. One way I'm interpreting this is there's been, over the last few months, a bit of a change in the tenor of some of these change requests, right? Earlier on, it was like, oh gosh, an unforeseen thing came up or some big, whatever. My understanding is these owners request things. At this point, this isn't so much, oh gosh, we forgot that. Oh, we didn't think of this and it would be nice to have. But this is more, okay, since we are now at the end and we are, getting to the end of all these projects, because we have managed the budget very effectively. Thank you, Mr. Boots. We are saying, hey, now that we're getting to the wrap up phase, we do have enough money left that we can go ahead and do some of these things that maybe we had not initially planned on because we were trying to be fiscally responsible, not over budget, right? Is that accurate?
That's accurate. Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And the former is true too. We are continually finding little things
Mhm.
as we're going on, but we do have the funding so that we can do those things now.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions?
No, but I'm going to reiterate, the reason I asked you that question is so that the public knows it. Whether we perceive something differently or not, they understand it if they ever go back and say, are you managing our money correctly? And we are. So appreciate that.
And if I could also just add another note to Mrs. George Davis's comment about the video board. So in the project and in the design, we did have a scoreboard in that particular design, but the team wanted to upgrade that once new technologies came out to the video board. So then they did raise the funds to be able to do that. And we also then agreed to then come back and add the power.
So originally, basically, there was technology and a board.
There was, and
Just wanted a better one.
yes, and so they paid the difference.
Gotcha.
They raised the funds for the difference.
Okay, see,
Yeah.
that's different. Got it.
And then that video board though, even though it's going to be used primarily by the swim club, it also benefits the entire community, correct?
Yes, it will. Anybody
you.
that's inside and using that auditorium, yes.
All right, do I have a motion?
I move that we approve the 2016-2020 capital project change orders as presented by Mr. Boots.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? I will call the vote. Mr. Thompson,
Aye.
Mr. Turner,
Aye.
Ms. Horace Kruger.
Aye.
Ms. George Davis.
Aye.
I'm also an aye. Those are approved 5-0. And you get to stay right up there for action item number 11, agreement with Cochran Exteriors for tennis house exterior improvement.
Thank you, Madam President. Yes, I am asking approval of AIA document A104-217 agreement with Cochran Exteriors LLC for the replacement of the entire roof and siding of the tennis house. The siding and the roofing of the tennis house has deteriorated significantly and has begun to fail. Action is needed to protect the investment of the facility in order to maintain the top quality tennis program. We did receive 3 proposals for that work, and the proposal from Cochran Exteriors was determined to be the lowest and the best proposal. The cost of this is $207,908.09, and that will be funded from operations funding. Happy to answer any questions.
Questions, board? Do I have a motion?
I move that we approve the agreement with Cochran Exteriors for the tennis house exterior improvements as presented by Mr. Boots.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the vote. Mr. Thompson,
Aye.
Mr. Turner,
Aye.
Ms. Worth Kruger,
Aye.
Ms. George Davis.
Aye.
I'm also an aye. That is approved 5-0. Thank you. And last but not least for our action items, Mr. Boots with an update on our spring mill doors.
Yes, thank you. And again, asking approval to withdraw a previous approval of a proposal from Dahlman Contractors for the replacement of the main entrance security and storefront doors at Spring Mill Elementary, and to approve a proposal with JBM Contractors Corporation to perform that same work. The approval of the original Dahlman proposal was granted at a board meeting on the 25th of February, 2026. And, but unfortunately, since then, Dahlman has ceased operations and have become non-responsive. Upon consultation with our legal counsel, we were advised to withdraw the prior approval of Dahlman's proposal and request approval of the second lowest proposal. The second lowest proposal was from JBM Contractors. JBM is, just a note, JBM is not new to us. We have had several very positive experiences, JBM Contractors. The final impact of that is $184,948, and that will be paid through insurance proceeds.
George Davis.
I'm going to assume the answer to this, but I'm going to ask it anyway. I'm going to assume no money has changed hands yet.
Sorry, can you say it again?
I'm going to assume no money has changed hands yet.
That's it. No money says let's change hands. No. We were just getting started and they
Disappeared.
ceased operations.
Gotcha.
Any other questions? Do I have a motion?
I move to approve the withdrawal prior proposal and approve new proposal with JBM Contractors Corporation for Spring Mill security door replacement as presented by Mr. Boots.
I'll second.
Been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the vote. Mr. Thompson,
Aye.
Mr. Turner,
Excuse me, aye.
Ms. Worth Kruger,
Aye.
Ms. George Davis.
Aye.
I'm also an aye, and that is approved 5-0. Thank you. All right, that concludes our action items for the evening. We do have one very exciting information item from Mrs. Smith and Policy Analytics. I think this is very timely because if folks have been reading some of the news in the local media, there have been some articles circulating about impact on legislation on school budgets. And I believe Chalkbeat had a big one that said the referendums are coming. And so with that, I'm going to allow Ms. Smith to share with us where Washington Township is and what our thought process is on our referendum that was approved in 2020 and will be coming up for renewal. Thank you.
So President Fry, I'm going to actually kick us off this evening. So I appreciate the opportunity to provide an operating referendum update. This is a presentation we've titled The Promise, the Progress, the Renewal. The reason for that is because we're going to break it down basically into 3 parts tonight. So I want to first begin by acknowledging the heaviness with which we bring this proposal to you for discussion this evening. And I just want to emphasize it is just for discussion this evening. We recognize that proposing a referendum renewal is a significant request, and it's also a significant lift. And it's not something we want to do simply for the sake of it. However, it is something we have critically analyzed basically this entire school year. As you know, board, we've engaged in quite a few conversations and engaged our professional partners, one of which Ms. Herndon is here again with us this evening to offer us more education. But since SCA 1 has passed, the game has changed, and we're aware of that. And we have been looking at our financial forecasts for the next 8 years and trying to think what is the best path to move forward for our district and our community. And I think we're one of few, if not the only government entity that needs to budget forecast for 8 years out. So there's a few key points before we dive in tonight that I think it's imperative that the board and our community knows. And first, Indiana ranked last in the nation in increases in education spending from 2003 to 2023. Indiana public schools have lost $4.1 billion since 2009 due to the imposition of the tax caps. Indiana ranks 37th in the nation on per pupil education spending. And then finally, the Legislative Service Agency estimates that due to SEA 1, public schools in Indiana will lose $744.4 million in total across 3 years starting in 2026, with the greatest losses happening in 2028 with a projected revenue loss of $336 million. So we believe the time to act is now. We are fortunate, however, in Washington Township Schools that we have had a very supportive community that has helped us mitigate these losses over the last years. But we want to make it clear that in order for us to sustain and continue our progress, we have to continue to engage our community and we have to continue to have this support. So as we talk through this referendum opportunity this evening, we want to make it very clear that this is not about anything new. This is not about adding. This is not about new buildings. This is about our current people. Operating referendum is about people. And Dr. Kaiser is going to share with you a little bit more about those people and the important roles that they play in our schools. And we simply want to propose to the board and our community that we just want to sustain it because we're seeing progress. We believe in the staffing that we have, and we want to continue to reach toward those bold goals that we set as we launched into our new strategic plan this school year. So while the slides contain financial data this evening, the heart of this renewal proposal is about the human beings, our educators inside our buildings, doing the hard work with our students and our families every day. So if the board approves placing this referendum renewal on the November ballot, which will bring a resolution likely in June at the next board meeting, it will allow us to sustain funding for the people who make our schools safe, who make our schools supportive and successful. So with that, I want to turn it over to Dr. Kaiser to talk about our current status of the 2020 operating referendum.
Thank you, Dr. Taylor. Yeah, we did want to take a moment to look back at the commitments that we made during the 2020 operating referendum campaign. Our goal for the next few slides is simple. It's to demonstrate that the promises we made to our voters have been faithfully kept, and more importantly, that those investments are delivering a tangible return for our students and our staff. So by renewing the referendum campaign in 2020, we committed to continued staffing of our 8th elementary school. Today, that building isn't just staffed in alignment with our other schools, it has become a thriving community. It has an identity and a sense of pride so deep you'd think its doors first opened in 1958 rather than just a few years ago. Crucially, this additional capacity has allowed us to more effectively balance elementary enrollment across the entire district, ensuring that our class sizes remain within age-appropriate ranges at every grade level. We also told our voters in the 2020 renewal that would allow us to prioritize our most valuable resource, our people. We committed to using operating referendum funds to raise compensation and to remain a competitive employer in the Indianapolis market. We made good on that promise. In November of 2020, we approved $3,860 as an annual raise for our teachers. And in February of 2021, we implemented a 4% increase across the board for our classified staff, as well as targeted market increases for positions that were trailing local benchmarks. Those are not just numbers on a ledger from 2021. They are one reason that we can recruit and retain the best talent to support our students. Our commitments at that time also extended to the well-being and the safety of our students. We promised more support, and today every building in the district has a dedicated social worker working in that building. We have more Washington Township School police officers in our halls, keeping our students safe than we ever have before. Then there's transportation. You can see athletic and transportation on this slide. We committed to adding drivers, and we continue to recruit aggressively. If anyone in the room or watching online knows of anyone who has a CDL, please message me immediately following this meeting. The reality is that our referendum funded position pay increases for our drivers and our staff have kept us stable. While some Indiana districts have recently been forced into rotating days of school attendance based on a lack of drivers, Washington Township has maintained a reliable fleet. Our community feedback confirms it. Our reliability and efficiency in transportation have seen substantial improvements with these funds. We often talk about positions and programs. The fundamental question is it working? And our data says yes. The graduation rate for the class of 2025 was the highest in Washington Township history under the current DOE calculation. And while we'll have to wait for the state to certify numbers for this class, our leading indicators suggest that the class of 2026 is on track to set another record high. President Fry, by my math, your daughter and mine will eventually represent about 0.2%. So well done by us, because every 0.2% matters. This isn't just evidence of success at North Central with our graduation rate. It's evidence of the success of our entire K-12 system. Beyond graduation, we've seen significant growth in student performance since 2021. For example, iRead passage rates have climbed by 7.7%, and iLearn math performance has increased by 14.1%. Those figures underscore a vital point. When we keep our referendum commitments to staff and our classrooms and our students, academic results follow. We're also seeing an impact on our school culture. This past school year, 83% of our students had either 0 or 1 discipline infraction. That is a remarkable testament to the positive learning environments our staff have worked hard to create, and it proves that when students feel supported by staff and safe in their buildings, they can focus on what matters most, which is learning. Finally, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention retention. Like every district in the country, we felt the strain of the pandemic in this area. However, Washington Township's worst years have looked like average years for many of our neighbors. I'm proud to report that we have not only returned to pre-pandemic retention levels for staff, but in many categories, we're approaching all-time historical highs. As a former HR director, I can tell you with certainty the compensation and benefits enhancements that we promised from the 2020 operating referendum have, over the last several years, been the primary driver of our ability to return to those levels of retention. None of this, not our record our graduation rate, the academic growth, or the staff stability would have been possible without the renewal of that 2020 operating referendum. We made promises to our community, and tonight I am proud to highlight so many of the ways that we delivered on those promises, and they are having positive impacts on our students.
Lots of great information, huh? Love hearing all that. Well, like Dr. Taylor alluded to when we first started, the systems around us have changed significantly. While our commitment to fiscal responsibility and efficiency have remained constant, the external systems around us have changed dramatically. State legislative has changed on how local funds work. The gap between basic state funding and actual cost of running our school has severely widened. Talking about the impact of SEA 1 and revenue sharing, the same local tax rate now generates less revenue for the district, period. Because we are now required to share local approved dollars with charter schools, the exact same tax rate now generates less revenue for our district. We'll hear more in-depth numbers as policy analytics comes up in a little bit. The math of the squeeze. This one I like, just talking about how the widening gap between essential funding and operational cost. We call this the operational gap. Utilities, over 56% increase. Transportation cost up over 34%. That includes bus purchases, fuel, and other repair items. And also the ever-rising insurance and other operational costs that we all deal with, even in our homes. We're going to go ahead and turn it over in the next one to policy analytics so they can do a little bit more deep dive into more of the numbers that you'll see. And we have, call up Miss Jane Herndon here to go through that part.
Thank you very much. President Fry, Dr. Taylor, Board, thank you for having me back. I think I was here last fall talking about Senate Bill 1. So we now have a little more information. It's a little drag there. Okay. Just a reminder, Senate Bill 1, I'm not going through all this again, I promise. But as you recall, homestead deductions are increasing until 2031. At some point then, by 31, 2/3 of the value of the home is taken off the tax roll. Same thing with rentals. Those deductions are increasing to the point that 1/3 of the value comes off tax rolls. And there are other changes in Senate Bill 1 that has the effect of holding down assessed value. And as you know, assessed value is what school corporations and other governmental entities use to apply their tax rate and to get revenue. Here's some information about other school corporations in Marion County, and this is their total tax rate. And you see there that Washington Township, even with the existing referendum rate, is on the lower end of the other school corporations in the county. When we compare you then to Hamilton County school corporations, you can see, again, you're in the middle to the lower end in total tax rate. Of the school corporations on this slide here, all of them are expected to go to a referendum in November, with the exception of Hamilton Heights. And most of them are asking for an increase in their referendum rate instead of coming back for a renewal with the same rate. You saw this chart last fall there on the top of the screen. The green line is gross assessed value. That's the value of property before those deductions are applied. And you can see there over the last 10 years, those lines were fairly parallel, the gross AV in green and the net assessed value in blue. The net assessed value is what you actually tax. You can see as Senate Bill 1 is rolling on, it slowly increases the line between the gross and the net AV. That is those increasing deductions that the homeowners are getting, that rentals are getting. And you see those in dollars there at the bottom of the screen. On the right-hand side, we show you that your school corporation net AV grew on average 4% in the last 10 years. This year, it grew a little over 6%. And because of Senate Bill 1 changes, we are projecting that in the next 5 years, you will have a reduction of 3.6%. Looking at that in a little bit more detail, you can see your assessed value change year to year was fairly healthy the last few years. That is not unusual. That was across the state of Indiana. And if you think about what was happening to home prices at that time, that helps explain that growth in net assessed value. As Senate Bill 1's changes are rolling on, you can see that those increasing deductions have the effect of reducing or putting pressure on your net assessed value. That's important with a referendum fund, because if you remember, a referendum fund is driven by the rate. When you take your assessed value, you apply a rate, you get the revenue. And when we were at a time when the NAV was going up, you had the same rate, you got a little bit more money. Now, the next 5 years, we're at a place where NAV is likely to be decreasing. That same rate then gives you less. By 2032, those are all rolled in, those Senate Bill 1 changes, and we expect schools to be back into a place where you're seeing net assessed value growth. Information on the referendum then, you can see here in turquoise, this is our projection of the revenue that you will be able to receive based on that 25-cent referendum rate there in the blue. As you heard from Mrs. Smith, we're expecting that to reduce a little bit due to the net assessed value going down. We're also showing you with the green there what we project you would have received if Senate Bill 1 hadn't occurred. This is then showing you the effect on your median homestead. The orange line there represents the median home of a little over $301,000 home. That's the median in the school corporation. The blue is the 75th percentile, and the green is the 25th percentile. Again, just focusing on the orange here, this is the dollar amount that this taxpayer is paying towards your referendum. And you can see here in 2026 for the median, that was about $381 of their tax bill was going into the referendum fund. And we're expecting then over the next 8 years that that will decrease down until the 2031. And at that point, it would start to go up slightly. This is a look at the tax bill for, again, that median homeowner in the school corporation. And I want to direct your eyes to the gray line there, or the gray box, and it says median homestead gross assessed value. 2025, this home value was at $276,000. 2026, it changed or grew to $301,000. That is the change in the market that's still happening with home values. Going down then that row on 2026 and the tax bill there in gray, you can see that the overall tax rate actually went down this year. And then all the way down at the very end, you see a line item that says post CB credit, meaning post circuit breaker. This homeowner got $285 new homestead credit due to Senate Bill 1. That's unfunded, so that means that's lost to you, the city, the county, but it is a credit that this homeowner got. That then resulted in their overall bill being reduced slightly from 25 to 26. You then see we put on there a dashed line. That is the liability that this taxpayer would have had if Senate Bill 1 didn't happen. And so there's a lot of confusion because people are expecting a lot lower bills looking at the headlines from Senate Bill 1. And in many communities, my bill went up. Many communities that's occurred. Or it didn't reduce as much as people thought. But I think the thing to remember is the bills would have been a lot larger if Senate Bill 1 didn't happen. And that's really what this chart is showing here. Your administration asked us to put together a chart showing the different levels of homeowners in addition to rent properties and commercial properties. We showed the impact due to the referendum in 2026 in dollars. And then we also compared it to the 2027 expected impact. Again, just looking at that median homeowner up there at the $301,700. Under current law, that amount gets rounded up to the nearest 50,000. So what you potentially would see on the ballot question would be a $350,000 home. The auditor's actually going to give us that value. It's possible that it gets down below that 300,000, and if that happens, that's the value you'd see. But for right now, we're using that $350,000 home. You can see in 2026, $453 of their tax bill went to the referendum. And we're expecting in 2027, if the renewal is approved at the 25 cents, their bill actually will go down by about $17. And then you can look at all the different value homes down the way there. You may ask, well, why is it different from the lower value homes to some of the higher value homes? That has a lot to do with the way Senate Bill 1 works. Quite frankly, when it's a $300 or 10% credit, a lower value home is not getting that full $300, for example. But you can see there's a reduction actually in the amount that taxpayers would be paying in 2027 with this renewal. We then show you an example of the question. As you heard from Dr. Taylor, you'll be asked in the future board meeting to adopt resolutions that have the actual form of the question in it. We're just right now giving you some of the financials that you are likely to see in that question. A few of them say tentative because the determination by the auditor is going to affect some of those numbers. We would expect them to come down a little bit. It's not very likely they would go up from what you're seeing right here. That is what I have to present. I guess one little takeaway, I will say from our perspective, your administration and you all have done a really great job managing difficult situations. And with that relatively low rate compared to other school corporations, it looks like in conversation with Mrs. Smith that you're going to be able to weather the next 8 years really quite well. We're working at or know about 45 school corporations who are going to the ballot in November, and there probably are only a handful that are able to renew at the same rate. Most of them are asking for a higher tax rate, so you should be commended for that.
Thank you, Ms. Herndon. We'll continue on with parts of our presentation here. Let me get that back up if it'll come up. Okay. So moving on, we go into, talking about our responsibility and our stewardship. We have optimized a lot of things within our control. As you see, we've saved over $500,000 just in cooperative purchasing. We've earned back-to-back energy efficiency awards while renovating our buildings. We secured external grants and outside funding. We built reserves to soften the financial impact that you heard Ms. Herndon talk about. Doing these measures has maximized internal efficiencies. We remain committed to leading with transparency, responsibility, and an unwavering focus on our students. Talking about the proposal, the 2026 proposal, we're not coming forward because we haven't planned. We are coming forward because even with optimal financing planning and savings, the current regular funding system simply does not fully fund what it takes to run our schools for our students. The 2026 proposal is a continuation of our promise to our students, our families, and this community. Maintaining staff and maintaining supports equal continuity for our students. Let's be clear. We want to make sure that everyone understands what this is. A renewal of existing local commitment, maintaining the current tax rate of 25 cents, protecting our class sizes and our classes, protecting the existing staff our students rely on every day, ensuring continuity of current safety, mental health, student supports, and academic programs. What this is not a new tax increase to the community, not funding for new building constructions, not an expansion to hire staff for new or expanded initiatives, not an addition to capital debt service. This cost of inaction, you ask what happens if this would not pass? What does this do for our district? The choice facing the community has a direct, immediate implication for every classroom. If this fund is not renewed, the district cannot absorb the loss without impacting students. We will be forced to make reductions, not in theory, but in practice. A non-renewal would force reduction in essential staffing roles, larger class roll sizes across all district grade levels, fewer student programs and athletic support structures, reduced student supports and school resource officers. These are not theoretical outcomes. These are the practical realities of funding shortfalls. And then I'll turn it back over to Dr. Taylor on why now.
Yeah, I'll close this out. Thank you, Ms. Smith. And board, I think the question that we can anticipate is why now, right? Why not just wait? And I want to be clear that we are choosing stability over urgency, which really means that right now, as Ms. Herndon just alluded to, with 45 possibly plus school districts going for a referendum, majority of which will be asking for a higher rate, we can anticipate that the rules will likely change again, making it even more complicated to navigate and manipulate and manage in the future for our community. So we believe right now, based on our projections, that we are well situated to not ask a cent more of our community, even though we will get less and they will have a savings by supporting this operating referendum renewal, that we can sustain our staff in what could be a turbulent time moving forward if we were to wait. And so we just want our community to know that this is an ask of us to continue the promise that was really set back in 2016. And we want their support to continue that promise, to continue that stability, to continue the progress that we're making. As you also know, why now implications. Also, you have to consider and factor in charter school sharing. If we go in 26, our charter schools with students who have legal settlement in our district who choose to go to brick and mortar charter schools, we have to share a portion of these funds with them. They have to opt in to that process in 2026. If we wait in 2028, the law states they have to opt out. And so there's a difference fundamentally in that approach. And so we are factoring that as well, because it's not only going to be a reduction in what we're going to get by renewing at this rate, we're also going to have more to share. And even still within that, we feel confident that we can sustain and stabilize during what could be turbulent waters in the future could be a highly contested 2028 election moving forward too. And that is optics that we've taken into consideration as well. So with that, we're happy to open it up to the board for questions. Again, thank you, Ms. Herndon, for being here and being a thought partner throughout this entire process. We appreciate Policy Analytics for it as well. So turn it over to the board.
Board questions. I'll start by saying, a lot of the questions I have were answered. This is an extremely clear presentation. I don't have any questions for right now, but board, how about the rest?
I think it's more of I know it's not the comment. Well, it's information item, so we don't have. So, yeah, it's always tough to come back and ask the public to continue to support, but I do like the way the presentation has come together and showing what we've done, what we'd like to maintain, and what we could possibly lose should we not be able to continue this. And it's what's interesting is that there are a lot of as you mentioned, there are probably 45 other districts, but there are a lot of folks who are already in the phase of letting folks go. They're already doing that within their school district. And we don't want to be like that if possible. But again, it comes down to educating folks on why we're doing it, as Dr. Taylor said, why we're doing it now. So I appreciate putting this together. Again, as Mrs. Fry said, you've answered a lot of my questions, so but I don't want the public to think we don't have any questions about this, right? We just want to keep moving this forward. But yeah, I just say thank you for pulling it together, and it's a tough thing to do, but sometimes it comes from other people, as we know from downtown, that kind of change the way we do things. So I just wanted to say that. Ask a question.
Yeah, same thing. I just want to say thank you for the amount of care and concern that you guys have put into this. I just really appreciate that. I know that you guys have been very judicious, and you guys have, done a lot of work with us and the community before, with all this. It's to me, it's just very clear. But just thank you for those efforts.
I just also want to, because I've sat in on some of these conversations, I appreciate the humility with which we are pursuing this work, because we're not assuming anything, and it's an opportunity to really educate our community on the great things that are happening in the township, as opposed to just thinking that they already know. And since it's not asking for an increase, that should be easier, when in fact it's not. So I appreciate we're being eyes wide open going in. And I think we have a tremendous story to tell. And I think it's going to be a great opportunity for people who haven't thought about Washington Township in a while, for whatever reason, to really get reacquainted. So hopefully that'll carry us forward to victory on this.
I
Ms.
also don't
sorry.
have any questions, but I do appreciate the transparency. Like, we're not running from it. We are heading it on. We know what we're up against. We're letting people know what we're up against. So it's not just to give us money. It's a very clear, this is for our students, and this is why this needs to happen. So I personally, as Mrs. Smith knows, I kind of glaze over when we start talking numbers. God bless her. But I appreciate you making this really simple for people to understand why this is necessary. Sorry.
No, I just, to Ms. Horth-Kruger's point, and this will be important education. When you said, in fact, it's not easier, I think it's important to inform the community that the question for renewal is actually a harder question to ask, because it tells the community what they essentially could say by voting no, right? So we could have easily said, let's just raise it a penny. And it's arguably a way easier question. But we didn't want to do that because that's not the responsible, certainly isn't the fiscally responsible thing to do based on our projections. And in a way, it is a way to honor our community and their consistent support of us over the years by saying, hey, we know we'll get less, but we can still get done what we need to get done with the staff we currently have based on those projections. So it will be important education, but it's certainly going to be a very difficult challenge in educating the community on that, because the renewal question is a harder question to ask on the ballot.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, our last agenda item tonight is our special events and liaison reports. Mr. Thompson, since you're virtual and I've been calling on you first all night, I'll go ahead and start with you tonight.
All right, I went to the final meeting of the Washington Township Schools Foundation along with Dr. Taylor last Wednesday. And then I guess it's not really school board related, but I am on the committee for Blast Off, and we are getting excited for Blast Off. I just did my last little rounds working with, we have some really nice community partners that are donating food for our seniors for Blast Off. So excited about that, and looking forward to graduation and all of the end of the year circuit activities that are coming up. So, oh, and I guess what's really exciting this summer, I'll be presenting at a conference that I got accepted to talk about my experience on the Washington Township School Board. So that's new as of, I don't know, 2 weeks ago. So thanks.
I'll just keep going in the same order we've been going in tonight. So Mr. Turner.
So I will say this piece ties into what we just talked about with the referendum is I was able to sit in on one of the planning sessions, but this session turned into a, how can we be at the polls educating folks on what Washington Township is all about and our achievement for our students. And the flyer that came out of those, came in at the tail end with the flowers being built, but going to the polls during May 5th, standing out and handing those out to anybody that's voting in Washington Township, to me is one way for us to get the word out, because that sheet is very, it's brief, but it gives you a lot of highlights, and somehow how we can use those flyers somewhere else would be great, because they were awesome. Oh, they're over there. All right, thank you. The other two things were kind of tied to one particular school, but the Spring Mill did a presentation tonight, and they talked about their trivia night. And I only bring it up because I've been to those trivia nights like every year for the past 16 years. But this is the first time ever that the team I was on won the trivia contest. We got a trophy and everything. And so that made it a little different. People were thinking we're
Recognition.
board recognition, right. And then Spring Mill had a back to school night last week or the week before. I attended just to get a chance. And what was cool about it, it's kind of almost like a end of the year celebration and come back and talk to your teacher. But each of the grades had different ways to recognize their students. I'm bringing this up only because, we haven't talked a lot about it here a lot, but AI is a big thing, right? And one of the classes used AI to, I know you can do it on Facebook and all other stuff, but it aged the students to make them young adults. And they did a poster, if they were in a famous Hoosier, what would they be doing? Whether it's healthcare, law enforcement, whatever. They aged them, but what got me was how realistic it looked on those posters. That I know we try to run away from AI sometimes, but it's here, and it was impressive. They made them look like them, but older in the presentations, and they did great write-ups about what they wanted to be. And how could they be a famous Hoosier in the future? So I bring that up, and I know Mr. Thompson and the rest of the board actually goes to a lot of the school visits. But if we can get other folks that, I don't know how we get those kind of things, whether that's as minor as what those back to school nights are, or how you can get folks into the schools, or at least get that information out. Because, the news is it only sells if it's bad. And it's hard to get these good stories out. That is why, continuing our referendum operating fund is very important. So I said a whole lot there, so I will stop. I know.
You won robotics, you won trivia.
That's right, I did
what-
win robotics.
what the heck? So, I attended the Parent Council Network meeting last month, actually, 2 strategic planning sessions. One are the committee that I sit on, and then also all of us got together for a lengthy day of working on the strategic plan, which was very inspiring. And then I attended the awards ceremony that the township, the foundation puts on at North Central. And I just mentioned that because to be similar to what you're saying, to be in the room with all these kids who are graduating or have graduated, and they're just so smart and so talented and so great. And it was inspiring to sit there and be in that environment. But also, so many of those kids were from performing arts. So it just, to me, which I appreciate the performing arts so much, but how they succeed and what their place is. And they're also very smart students and got great grades too. But having that experience to have a well-rounded education was really great.
So Mr. Thompson and I had a policy meeting, probably the longest one we've had in a while. And then I did fun stuff in the district. I went to the Pantherette showcase. I went to some track meets. I got dragged to ISMA. My child is not in orchestra this year, but all of his friends are. So he insisted that I get up on Saturday before Mother's Day to go watch his friends play. But more so, I emailed Dr. Taylor, Dr. Seaver, and Ms. Fry this morning because yesterday, you just follow me here. I'm sitting in my staff admin meeting, and our medical director's wife teaches in this district, and he lives in this district. And I'm pretty sure I can't remember if they have 4 or 6 kids, but they have kids. And we were talking to someone who was saying that their daughter just got her first teaching job. And first we had to drag him because she went to Lawrence and not here. And I was like, didn't I tell you she needs to come here? And so, but then my medical director says, that's a shame because if you understood the things that were happening in Washington Township, she would be running here. And we just got like totally derailed my staff meeting talking about this district. So I see the cabinet sitting there, and I want you guys to know that the impact we are making is real. People are talking about us outside of education spaces and letting people know that this is the place to be. So kudos, because you guys are phenomenal. You are doing great work, and people are talking.
Let's see, to wrap it up, I'll try to be shorter. I was out at the polls in the rain, a very rainy election day, but that was really nice because, we got people on the way out, and it was really nice to say, hey, I'm not asking you to vote for anything. I'm just with Washington Township Schools, and, we want to connect with people who aren't necessarily, parents or employees of our district, and being out at the polls is a great way to do that. And people were really receptive. So that was good. And, I did attend the parade, the grad parade, which was pretty cool. We, as a board, are working on our superintendent evaluation, so doing some board work there. I'll tell one quick anecdote too, because I think it tells to what Ms. George Davis said. It speaks to the dedication of our teachers. I have a daughter's graduating. Her kindergarten teacher has retired quite some years ago now, but she had developed a tradition. For every single student in her class, she got a full poster board size piece of foam board and made a memory board for every single student with pictures, because she took pictures through the whole year and their little classroom chants. And, when they did a little, filling out a little thing about their favorite book. And I mean, every student, it was like a huge scrapbook page. I mean, it was amazing. But I was able to bring that out, and I was able to bring that to Fox Hill for the grad parade. And to me, that, again, back to We Grow Panthers, that said so much that here we have a senior and we still have this beautiful statement of the dedication and love from her teacher all the way back in kindergarten. So I enjoyed that full circle moment, but more importantly, I think it speaks to the quality of the teachers and of our district. And I also appreciated that one school had a banner that said "We Grew Panthers." So that was lovely as well. And that's it for me. With that, we have completed our agenda. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned. Thank you.